right, Michael.
A for sale sign in a yard in Clarksville, Tennessee in the 1960s and 70s was a very rare thing. In fact, if you saw one, there were really good odds that somebody had just died. It was a very stable community, and that's where I grew up. It was the kind of town where you knew the houses by the names of the people that had lived there for generations. There was the Klepp's house next to the Vickery's. On this side, there was the Gibbs house. That was next to Aunt Minnie's house. And down the street on the corner, there was Slim Wooten's Market. Yes, we're talking Tennessee. And our house, of course, was the largest house on the block. Now, it wasn't that we were the wealthiest, but you see, my siblings, Joe, Joby, Johnny, Ann, Katie, Emily, Tommy, Virginia, Martha, Jimmy, Chris, Julie, and Barbara, and my parents and I required a large house to keep 16 people. And we would run all over the place. You know, Mom would send us down to Slim Wooten's. We didn't have money. We had a charge account. They knew all the little Winters kids, of course, and we'd say, charge the Winters, and they would do that because we would routinely need, a gallon of milk or 3, and she would send us down to get a pound of bologna sliced very thin. The butcher, good guy. I can slice that bologna so thin, it'll only have one side. So this was a town that, except in the wintertime, there was cold in the winter, except in the winter, you could walk around, take a walk, and you would have half a dozen conversations because people sat on their front porches. This was a town where you really knew you belonged and you knew everybody in the town. So imagine my surprise when I moved to Houston in the 1990s and moved into a nice Heights neighborhood and saw one house sold 3 times in 1 year. I learned pretty quickly that I could make friends at work or at civic clubs or at church, but only occasionally were the neighbors really friends. All that changed very dramatically in September of 2008 when the lights went out, literally. This was Hurricane Ike. Now, I was no longer in the Heights, of course. I had moved to the Museum District by this time, and our little townhouse group, there were 6 townhouses, were really impacted by this, 16 days without power. And, well, that was 3 of those. All the houses to the north, west, east, and south of our 3 had power within 3 or 4 days, but ours, for some strange luck, had no power. So what happened was the families that didn't have power, we rolled a table out into the driveway, and every night we would set it. We'd put a nice tablecloth, and there would be candles, and we would grill whatever had not spoiled from somebody's freezer, and other people would come and bring whatever they had, and that feast was the most magical food that I've ever had. And this lasted well beyond the hurricane. For 3 years after that, that group became really like a family. Not a week went by that we didn't have breakfast or dinner or play dominoes or have a birthday party or just hang out and talk. We shared dreams and visions, and we turned our driveway into a foursquare court where we had foursquare tournaments every weekend. Alas, this was not meant to last. About 3 years after Hurricane Ike, the neighbors to the right of us, they got an ideal, a dream job in California, in the same town as their parents, and they moved away. The neighbors on the other side had a once-in-a-lifetime chance to move to Spain for a year. What a great opportunity, and they left. And the neighbor across the way decided that there was a bigger house in the suburbs that he could go to. Now, new people did move in to those houses, but it was never the same. We learned that we could be like we had been in the past, friendly but distant.